everyone, welcome to our channel. This is Navita from IELTS Oracle, and what are we going to cover in this video? So in this video, I'm going to help you out with your IELTS reading module, particularly the question type true, false, not given. So true, false, not given is considered as one of the most difficult, most toughest part of the IELTS reading module, as majority of the students, they find it quite hard to cope with this question type. Mostly, they are actually confused between the options of false and not given. So today, in this session, I'm going to give you a super strategy to solve these type of questions. So let's first of all see what this session is going to include. In today's session, I'll be explaining you the task first of all, like how does this task appears in the IELTS examination and what sort of instructions do you get along with the task. After understanding what the task is, we will discuss the strategy to solve this type of question, and after getting the strategy, the most crucial part is practicing the strategy. So we'll be practicing the strategy about the implementation of the strategy with the help of some examples, and after making you very clear, after making you understand that how the strategy will work, I'll provide you some more examples so that you can try them by yourself and you can get a hold on it. Right. Before discussing the strategy, I would like to share some of the results of our candidate. You can have a look on the results of our candidates who have appeared for IELTS examination, and by applying these super simple strategies, they have scored really well. So many have already created their success stories, and if you want to be the next one, you can enroll yourself for online or offline coaching with us and can avail huge discounts on online coaching. Before proceeding towards the strategy, first of all, let's find it out that why do the candidates they find it quite hard to solve true false not given question. Normally, we all are familiar with true false questions, so it is quite easy to differentiate between these two options. And not given being the newest option which we have come across, most of the candidates are not sure about it, and they often get confused this option with false or no. Right? So I'll be providing you the strategy with the help of which you can very easily cope with these kind of question type, right? And this is how this question appears in the examination. Do the following statements agree with the information given in the reading passage? You need to write true if the statement agrees with the information which is given in the passage, and if there is any sort of contradiction between the statement and the information given in the passage, you need to choose the option false. And if nothing is mentioned, no information is mentioned about the statement, about the requirement in the passage, then you'll have to opt the not given option. I hope you're very clear with the requirement of this type of question now. So let's proceed with the strategy. So let's now discuss the strategy to solve true false not given questions. So the very first step is read the statement carefully. You might wonder that this is a very simple instruction which I'm asking you to follow, but this means a lot. Reading the statement carefully means you're paying attention towards the question. If you're getting the correct meaning of the question, it will be much easier for you to find out the correct answer. Most of the students, they get the location, they can allocate the location, but they opt out the wrong answer. Why? Because they haven't understand the question completely and they are just relating the keywords. So we are not going to focus on the keywords. We'll read the entire statement very carefully so that we can get the correct idea about the question, that what the examiner is asking us, right? After reading this statement carefully, you'll be framing out a question. The second step is framing out a question, right? So the statement is a simple sentence, and now using the information which is given in the statement, you'll be forming out a question, right? And it will be now easier for you to find out whether you're getting the answer of the question or not. So framing out the question is the second step, and you need to keep in your mind that while framing the question, you are not allowed to skip any of the keyword, any of the information which is given in the statement. If you are missing any of the keyword or any of the information which is given in the statement, you might end up with an incorrect answer. So while framing your question, be very attentive to use all the information which is given in the question statement, right? The third step after framing out the question is very simpler. You just need to check whether you got the answer or not. you know that after reading the statement, we are going to refer to the passage, the information given in the passage. So now it's time to find out whether you are able to answer the question which you have framed by analyzing the information given in the, by utilizing the information given in the statement, whether you are actually able to answer the question now after going through the passage or not. Right? There will be two probable options only. Either you're going to get the answer or you're not going to get the answer, right? So if the information related to the question is missing and you're not able to answer the question, remember, you are not allowed to use your personal knowledge here. You will just be focusing on the information which is given in the passage only. Restrict your information, restrict your mind to the information which is given in the passage only. Utilizing that information, you just need to analyze now whether you're able to answer the question or not. If you're not able to answer the question, if no information related to that question is given in the passage, you will be choosing the not given option, discarding the given one, right? So the answer in this case is not given. On the contrary, in case you're able, after going through the information which is given in the passage, in case if you're getting the information regarding that question in the passage, then you will have two options now. You'll be discarding the not given option because you have got the information in the passage. So now you're left with two options, true and false. Now you need to relate whether the information given in the passage completely matches to the information of the statement or not. If the information is completely 100% matching with the information of the statement, then you'll be opting the true option. Or if there is any sort of contradiction over there, you'll be proceeding with the false option, right? Let's now recall the strategy again. So the very first step is reading the statement carefully. Reading the statement carefully will ensure that you are getting the correct idea about the question and you are going to end up with the right answer only. After reading the statement, you need to frame a question utilizing every single keyword given in the statement, every information, entire information given in the statement. After framing the question, now you need to check whether you are getting the answer of this question in the passage or not, right? So probably there are two options. First option is you're not actually getting anything, any sort of information about the question in the passage. So you will be proceeding with the not given option, discarding the given one, right? And on the contrary, if you're able to find some information about the question, that means the information is given. So you will now be discarding the not given option, right? So proceed with the given option. Now you have two more options. If the information given in the passage is 100% matching to the information given in the statement, you will be proceeding with the true option. And if any sort of contradiction is there, then you will be opting the false option, right? I hope you have understood the strategy now, and it is quite okay. It is completely fine with me if you're finding it difficult to relate with. But with the help of examples, which we are going to cover now, you'll be able to completely understand the concept which we have actually discussed now, and it will become easier for you to implement the strategy while attempting your questions. So let's try this strategy with the help of some examples. So you can see that I have given a short paragraph over here which is based on William Gilbert and his concept of magnetism, and there is a statement towards the left corner, and the statement says that he is less famous than he should be. So you need to pause the video, go through this information, this short paragraph, and then you'll be able to answer it, right? Pause the video and go through the paragraph and then come back to the question. So the question statement says that he is less famous than he should be, right? Did you get an idea that what the statement is emphasizing upon? The statement is emphasizing on the word famous. So we need to find out something if some reference is given in the paragraph about his fame, whether he is less famous or more famous. If we are getting some idea about his fame, then the information is given. If we are not getting any information related to his fame, then it has to be the not given option, right? So let's find it out. So the second step after reading the statement carefully is framing out a question. So we have framed the question over here that how famous he is. If you're going to get the answer by reading this paragraph, that how famous is he? Is he less famous? Is he more famous? So that means you have got the answer in the paragraph. If you are able to answer these two questions, that how famous he is, right? He is less famous or is he more famous? If you are able to answer it by reading the information given in the short paragraph over here, that means the information is given. And if nothing is mentioned about his fame, then you will be picking the not given option. So let's check whether you have got the answer or not, right? So you need to analyze whether the answer is given or not given. Then if you got something about his fame, then you need to analyze whether the information is matching completely or it is contradicting. So go through the last sentence of this paragraph. It says, however, he is less well known than he deserves. Right? The statement, I'm reading it again, the sentence is, however, he is less well known than he deserves. So something about his fame is given over here, right? The information is given that he is he well known or is he not a well known scientist or pioneer, right? So the information is given over here. So if the information is given, we'll be discarding the not given option, and now we'll have two options, true or false. So now it's time to relate the statement with the sentence given in the passage. Right? Now you have to check. You have read the statement, you have framed the question, you know that now not given option is discarded and you have the information regarding this. So now you have two options. You have true or false in your hand. So you need to check whether the true will be the right option or false will be the right option. So you need to match it up now. Let's match. So you can say that the word famous has been paraphrased with the help of synonym over here, and the synonym which they have used instead of using the word famous is well known. And the word he should be, the set of words he should be, is paraphrased as he deserves. Right? So the examiner has actually used paraphrasing technique over here by using the synonym so that it could be a little trickier for you, right? So you know that famous can be related to well known and he should be can be related to the deservings. So now let's paraphrase the statement. He is less famous. Instead of saying famous, we'll be using well known. He is well known than he should be. Instead of saying he should be, we'll be using he deserves. So he is less well known than he deserves. He is less well known than he deserves. The statements are matching completely, and you know what is the answer now? The answer is true, right? Here, the information related to his fame is given, and it is also given that he is less famous, which means that the statement is completely matching with the information given in the passage, and that is how the answer is true. I hope you got this. Let's now practice one more. So now the statement is, he was not famous as a doctor before he was employed by the queen. He was not famous as a doctor before he was employed by the queen. So go through, pause the video and go through the information which is given in this short paragraph and then come back to the question. Let's discuss the question now. Again, here we are emphasizing on his fame, but here we also have the additional information about the timing of his fame, which is to be considered, right? So it is before his employment, before he was employed as a physician by the queen. Was he famous or was he not famous, right? So after analyzing the statement, the question which we have framed is, was he a famous doctor before the queen employed him? Go through the paragraph and then tell me whether you are able to answer this question. Before his employment as a physician in the court of queen, was he famous or was he not famous? You got the reference from the very first sentence of this paragraph. He was a very successful and eminent doctor. That means he was very successful and a famous doctor. Eminent could be the famous personalities, right? So he was a very successful and eminent doctor. All this culminated in. All this culminated in means it resulted into. His success and his fame resulted in his election to the president of Royal Science Society. That means his fame and his success made him the president of Royal Science Society, and due to this, due to his fame and his success, he was also appointed as a personal physician to the Queen Elizabeth I. Right? So he was successful and eminent doctor, and his success and his fame has led to his appointment by the Queen. So information is given. You can clearly see that they have given the information that he was famous before the Queen employed him. Right? The famous is here paraphrased with the word very successful and eminent. And before his employment, where did we get the reference of this? We get the reference with the word all this culminated in. All this ended up in. All this resulted in the election and the appointment of his. So his appointment by the Queen was just because that he was a famous and successful doctor. So yes, we got the reference, and the information is contradictory because in the statement they are saying that he was not famous, but in the passage they are saying that he was famous, and that is why the queen appointed him. So it is contradicting, so the answer is false. Let's now proceed with one more example. And the statement says he lost faith in the medical theories of his time. So now you have to check in the statement we are emphasizing more on losing the faith on the medical theories of his time. So we need to find out some reference of losing the faith in the medical theories in this paragraph, right? So pause the video and go through the paragraph and then come back to the question. So after reading the paragraph, the information in the paragraph, now let's come back to the question. The question was asking us about losing his faith. So the statement was emphasizing on losing his faith, right? So it's time to frame out a question of it. So the question I had framed here is, was he doubtful about the medical theories of that time? If he was having any sort of doubt, he was losing his faith in the medical theories of his time, if any reference related to this is given in the paragraph, then it will be given, and not given option will be discarded at the very initial stage, right? Then we'll proceed with the further two options. So let's check whether the information related to this thing, that was he doubtful about the medical theories, is given or not. You can see there is a word questioned in the first sentence. He also questioned the traditional astronomical beliefs. Questioned means he had some doubt. So lost faith can be related with the word questioned because it can also be related to the word doubtful. So he was doubtful about the traditional astronomical beliefs, but here I'm going to give you again a tip that you need to bear in your mind, which is very, very important. So you need to stick with your question statement. Don't get confused with the option which is given in the paragraph, because if you're going to focus more on the passage, on the paragraph, you'll be ending up answering it as a false, right? Because you will match up half of the statement that yes, he was doubtful, but he was not doubtful about the medical theories, he was doubtful about the astronomical belief. So half of the statement is matching and half not, so it might be a false for you. But here you need to mind that you need to stick with your question statement. You need to find out some information related to the medical theories only. Your question is, was he doubtful about the medical theories or not? Right? So you need to find out the question, you need to find out the information related to the medical theories only. We are not concerned about the astronomical belief or something else, right? So we are not actually concerned about this thing. We are going to stick with the question in which the medical theories was focused. So we cannot find any reference about the medical theories. So that's why we have opted not given option. I hope you are very clear with the strategy, how to implement the strategy. Be very clear that when you are framing out the question, you are not skipping any of the keyword or any of the information which is given in the statement. And while answering your question, you need to be very clear that you are sticking with the information given in the statement. You are focusing on your question rather than focusing more or relating it with the passage. Right? So this was the strategy and the implementation of the strategy. It's now time for practicing, right? So I'll be providing some examples to you and you need to practice it by yourself, right? So here I have given a short paragraph again, and there is a statement on the left side which says the early Spanish called potato as the Incan name tutu. So you need to find out the reference and then you can come back to the question. First of all, pause the video, go through the information and then come back to the question. Can you now answer? What would be the answer of this question? You now need to frame out a question of it, right? So the question may be, this question statement is actually emphasizing on the name of the potato given by the early Spanish people. So are you able to get the reference of the name of the potato used by the early Spanish people? Yes, you are getting the reference in the very first sentence. Early Spanish chronicles who misused the Indian word batata as the name for the potato. So early Spanish people, they misused the Indian word batata, the Indian name batata to name the potatoes. So yes, the name which early Spanish has given to potato is given. We are finding the reference of this name in the paragraph, but it was not tutu, it was the word batata. So the information is given, the information related to the name of the potato which was given by the early Spanish people is there in the paragraph, but it is contradicting. The information is contradicting, the name is contradicting. So that is why the answer here is false. Let's proceed with one more example. The purposes of Spanish coming to Peru was to find out potatoes. So in this question statement, you will be focusing more on getting some idea related, getting the reference of the purpose of Spanish people coming to Peru. Pause the video and go through the information, then come back to the question. So after reading the paragraph, are you able to answer what was the purpose of Spanish people to come to Peru? Yes, you got the reference. You know the purpose. The Spanish people, they arrived in Peru. The Spanish people arrived in Peru in 1532 in search of gold. So you can clearly get the reference of the purpose of Spanish people coming to Peru was to find out gold, in search of gold, rather than finding out potatoes. So you can see that the purpose is given, the purpose of Spanish people coming to Peru is given, but it is contradicting. Here it is given that they came to Peru, they arrived in Peru in order to find out the potatoes, but in the paragraph it is given that they arrived in Peru in search of gold. So the information is given but it's contradicting, so that is why the answer is false. One more. The statement says the Spanish believed that the potato has same nutrients as other vegetables. So now in this statement they are emphasizing on the nutritional value of the potato, and it is being compared to the other vegetables. So pause the video, go through the information and then come back to the question and analyze whether something related to the nutritional value of the potato is given in comparison with the other vegetables or not. So after going through the information given in the paragraph, you can easily analyze that there is no such information given on the nutritional value of the potato. There is no comparison of the nutritional value of the potato with the other vegetables. So that is why the answer would be not given. Is it simpler now? Right. All right. Next example is, the statement says peasants at that time did not like to eat potatoes because they were ugly, right? So go through the information and then try to find out. Here in the statement we are going to emphasize more on the reason that why the peasants were not liking, why the peasants they didn't like to eat potatoes. Are we given the reason? After going through the paragraph, you'll be able to find the information that the peasants they refused to eat from the plant. The peasants refused to eat. The peasants did not like to eat potatoes. Yes, the reference is there. Now we just need to find out whether the reason is given or not. Because they were ugly, that produced ugly mishap tubers. Even peasants refused to eat from a plant that produced ugly mishappen tubers, right? So, yes, you got the reference that the peasants they refused to eat the plant because potatoes were ugly. You got the reference that they didn't like to eat potatoes, and you also get the reference, the reason behind this, because the potatoes were ugly. They found potatoes ugly, and it is matching completely. So the answer is true now, right? I hope now you're able to understand what the strategy is all about and you're able to implement the strategy. And by implementing the strategy, you'll be able to score more in your true false not given questions. So I hope this video is going to help you out. And if you really like the video, you find this video really beneficial and helpful, you can actually like and subscribe to our channel and share it as much as you can.